Hi, I'm Arthur, and this is part 9 in a 20-part series I am doing to cover the different successor chapters of each of the Legions of Space Marines. The particular theme of this series is second founding, or as close to it as I can get. So before I get into it today, I just want you to think really quickly, what is the angriest you have ever been in your life? I mean, so mad you felt like you could rip trees out of the ground and fling doors off their hinges mad. Cool. Now I want you to imagine that, but 10 times worse. That is 1% of what a Flesh Terror feels in the run of a day outside of combat. The Flesh Terrors are a second founding chapter that is a successor of the Blood Angels, and to be honest, they are one of the most interesting successors you can have. Because you can have certain successors represent the positive aspects of a legion, like the Genesis chapter of the Ultramarines, or like the more strict version of the Ultramarines. The Lamenters represent the kind souls that the Blood Angels always wanted to be. But then you have the cooler chapters that are more of a distillation of the fucking worst aspects of their parent legion. Key point here, the Flesh Terrors. Where Sanguinius and the Blood Angels worked really hard to buff out that whole demon super dark rage thing and keep it suppressed, the Flesh Terrors have the lever of their existence set to fuck it we ball at all times. And as horrible as it is to say, I am so down for this. They are so close at any given second to just being considered renegade and being hunted by the Inquisition. They have been on trial, I believe, a few times for crimes against the Imperium they have committed, but it always ends with them still being a part of the Imperium and still remaining a chapter. Hell, one time, Astaroth the Grim, the executioner of all who fall to the Black Rage, is like kind of cool with them. He thinks they serve a decent purpose, which is kind of dope to think about, but I suppose I'm getting ahead of myself. Where did the Flesh Terror start? With a man so fucking crazy, they put him and his entire company in a chapter just because the actual Blood Angels didn't want to deal with him. Good old Nasir Amit. He was one of the captains of the original Blood Angels Legion, known for being absolutely 100% fucking evil. But like, evil in a good way. Evil in an Imperium way. His nickname was the Flesh Terror, and thus the chapter name. You know, gotta keep the brand recognizable, right? This chapter was known to take on the exact mentality of Amit, being so obsessed with mindless slaughter and brutality that they had the highest rate of falling to the Black Rage, and probably one of the highest civilian casualty rates / friendly fire rates of any Space Marine chapter in the Imperium. Which should be insane to you, because there is a lot of chapters who just don't give a single fuck about anything or anyone. They are living, breathing monster weapons and nothing else. The Flesh Terrors were fleet-based as a chapter for quite some time, and then they landed on the wondrously named Cretaceous, a place where, if you couldn't tell by the name, it was permanently stuck in the Cretaceous period of evolution, with settlements of feral humans being beset by fucking dinosaurs all the time. It was kind of the perfect place for them to recruit and gain new members. Feral, terrified, and angry at dinosaurs, subsisting on an entire diet of nothing but Tyrannosaurus Rex and anabolic growth hormone. Sounds perfect to me. Amit, for all his trouble, ended up dying, allegedly. But it was kind of confirmed he may or may not have fallen to chaos, specifically Khorne. The TLDR of that is the current chapter master recovered the lost helmet of Amit and played the last recording that was shot through like the headset camera. And for 3 days afterwards, he didn't leave his room. When someone approached him afterwards when he did leave and asked, "Brother Seth, why are you so upset?" Seth would respond promptly with, "I don't want to talk about it." But yeah, allegedly the recording had fire, brimstone, demons, and Nasir Ahmed having a great time when he probably shouldn't have been. So he's gone forever. But speaking of chapter masters, we get the star of this show, fucking Gabriel Seth. This is one of the most interesting and fun characters in the entire setting. He is like the most rational, most intelligent, and most angry of the Flesh Terrors to have ever existed. He, of all members of his chapter, understands that the blood rages they go on are integral to their identity. So he holds it with reverence, because it is who he is. It's who the chapter is. But he understands that without a degree of sweeping reform, the Flesh Tearers are probably either going to get put down by another chapter in the Imperium, or just peter out and die. Who would have thought suicidal gunline charges with frothing berserkers that have no sense of self-preservation and not having fire support would likely end with them dying quite often? Also, they fall to the Black Rage very easily, so you lose a lot of guys even if you win decisively. A fun fact is, because they have such a high casualty rate for their Marines, they have almost never been at full strength. Now, I know that doesn't say much, because what separates their berserkers from the World Eaters and the Space Wolves doing the same shit? Well, essentially, the World Eaters are compelled because the nails in their brains make them omnicidal. They hate everything and can't think straight. The Space Wolves don't really hate you, they just really enjoy fighting and it sends them into furies. The Flesh Tearer's berserker is quite literally so angry that you can see heat shimmers coming off of them when they see you. He will murder his enemies, the civilians behind his enemies, and the allied forces behind that. And then, maybe, even some of his own Flesh Tearers if they suddenly looked a bit too much like Horus. So understanding this is a bit of a weakness to their longevity, Gabriel Seth organized a restructuring of the chapter so that when they engage in war, they end up fighting isolated enemies, so there are minimal civilian casualties, basically allowing his Marines to keep doing what they are doing without as much punishment and eyes on them from the Inquisition. It's given him a bit of a bad reputation in his chapter, and he has been known to pick fights with quite literally everyone who breathes in his direction, be it friend or foe. He was even pissed he was getting Primaris reinforcements for his chapter, because they weren't mad enough, in his words. Though, to be fair, one of those Marines did have it coming when he went over to Seth and just said, "You know, you're kinda shorter than I expected," trying to punk him and kinda bully him, to which Gabriel Seth beat the shit out of him. He also said that he didn't want the Primaris reinforcements because they just reminded him of Ultramarines but painted a different color, which is kind of fun to say. He has a reason to be mad, I mind you. There has been assassination attempts on him from within his own chapter at least once, which, considering he's not dead, tells you how that went. So, he gets the pass here. The Flesh Tearers are a berserk, vampire killy faction of Space Marines with characters I genuinely feel compassion for, in such a weird way. Gabriel isn't out here trying to make a good decision for his chapter. He's trying to make the best one he can, and I respect that. It's fun thinking about how quickly they are to kill and drink civilians, though they are in no way near as bad as other successors to the Blood Angels, like the Knights of Blood. Ugh. So, do you like berserkers? Do you like fielding an entire Death Company style army? Do you like Gabriel Seth being a literal whirlwind of violence and human Beyblade with razor blades duct taped to him? Then look into the Flesh Tearers. They are pretty fucking neat. What do you guys think of the Flesh Tearers and the successors of the Blood Angels as a whole? I always find them more interesting than the Blood Angels themselves, so do with that what you will. So, let me know in the comments. I will be checking, because you know I do have a bit of a divisive history with the Blood Angels. Alongside that, make sure to like and subscribe, as it does help the channel substantially. Thank you to my channel members, especially for supporting me through these dark times, and if you want to see my content early, or even see exclusive content, then become a channel member today. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.